We are live, I hope. No webcam today. Just the front boy of dreams, as we are going to be covering 3 games. We've got C9 BLG as today's matchup. And my PC, it's having a bit of a meh. Currently with OBS. And I'm really looking forward to this one. Why? My reaction is pretty nuts. Anyway. This is going to be a first time experience for me. I'm also eating my dinner, so apologies if you hear that. Got a nice burrito and a quesadilla to nom through. But it's really interesting to see how C9 perform, because we haven't covered DLCS in a year. It's been a while since I've talked about their teams, so here on the international stage, I'm intrigued by what happened. Anyway, let's go into the game intros, because we know it's coming. Here we go. Wait. Did it play it? Or am I just dumb? Here we go. They're not hyping the teams up as much anymore. Like, T1 and G2 got one, like a big one. I mean, obviously, BLG have been on this stage before, but this is C9's first time, and they just got a default. Give it up for C9 and BLG. Yeah. But yeah, been a while since we've looked at some of these players. And you know, I can't say much about this series. Like, I know the outcome, but I don't know how we get to them points in these games. And so, as a whole, as we start to get into draft, will Cloud9 be able to adapt to the meta? So, ban so far, Ari, Nautilus, Aphelios should be a third ban here for C9. I expect Elk. Lucian also was a big pick first. BLG, because Elk was being ballooned ahead in the early game. The tempo that came out from BLG in their series were stupidly fast, and it's all down to that bot lane. Now C9 gonna remove the Annie, which kind of forces probably the Kennen ban out from BLG. Out. Fudge probably gonna be piloting that champion into Bin, a guy who very carry hurry, but it's actually the Maokai band. So, immediate first pick from C9 is the Xayah. But, like, looking at the BLG comp, there's Vi, there's Kennen, there's Aphelios, all open still. I think BLG are going to have a field day here. They probably could lock in Lucian Nami first rotation. And it's looking very much like it. Elk has popped off on Lucian and Nami, but they're gonna go for the Vi, because that seems to be the SS top tier jungler in this current meta. Seems to be picked up by pretty much every team that's able to grab hold of that pick. C9 should lock in this rotation to Rakan, otherwise it'll get banned out. And so I'm also intrigued as to what they go here, because Blabber can play different style picks. He's known in the past for his Kindred. And while I don't think that's sort of what C9 will go for here, if that Ken gets locked in, that makes some sense. And actually, Kindred, I think, raises in priority now for the draft. And BLG probably will be banning it here in this phase. Interestingly enough, this is like the first series of the bracket stage where we're actually seeing both bot lanes like fully locked in the first phase. Because Mad Lions always used to save counterpick for Hully in their series. And G2 basically let Mickey suffer the bans in the second phase. Pretty much every game as well. So, top side though for BLG is massively wide open for Bin. If I'm C9, you possibly throw a ban towards a top laner. Sion is going to be the ban. There's still carry options for Mr. Bin, but Ornn is also up there as a tank option into the cannon. Because you want to kind of survive the initial engage from that big little yordle. I don't know why I said big and then little after it. Regardless of that, LeBlanc is banned out on the BLG side of things. Probably going to also remove another mid laner, the Yasuo. That's surprising. I mean, in my mind, C9 probably going to go AD jungle. Bel'Veth's up and available. Kindred is still available. And so, realistically speaking, Blabber can get something to synergize well with the cannon, to get early picks, and then use the mid lane pressure of an AP mid. The likes of Lissandra is up and available. Technically, if you want to go control mage, Syndra's up and available as a good, viable pick. There's still some decent options here. And BLG, I think they've got a decent comp for locking up targets. And so, going for something a bit more roam heavy in the mid lane. So, Ahri's banned. Galio, banned out. Never mind. There's TF, I guess? I mean, it was played in yesterday's series. Speaking of roam potential and getting around pretty quick, the Nocturne could be a good option here for Blabber, because that's an AD engage, and that works really well with the slicing Maelstrom flanks from the cannon. Instead, gonna lock in the Silas. And looking at these ultimates from BLG, the Wave, you've also got the Assault and Battery from Vi, Culling, and then the Narul. There's a lot of good ultis. And there's the Nocturne locked in. But yeah, there's a lot of good ults on the BLG side of Rift for Silas to steal. And enemies is probably gonna have a decent time. And if that Leah gets locked in, I think his laning phase becomes a little bit more difficult, but there's a roam heavy mid for Yagao. Allows him to get around the map pretty easily with a Weaver's Wall, set up plays, use that wall effectively. In fact, I believe Yagao played Talia already in this tournament and got a win with it. Though, don't test my knowledge. He's only played 2 series.
Looking to leave an impact on the international stage. Elk has been the insurance option for so many late games, but now looking to be the early game powerhouse here, or mid game powerhouse. So much attention needs to be paid to that bottom side of the map. We'll see who can get an edge early on. 2 very different approaches in the game 1 draft. See who will come out on top, getting closer and closer to the start of game 1. But pressure on both sides. Again, BLG already getting that practice, already getting that experience. Cloud9, this is their first taste of international competition.
So, we are getting onto the rift. Didn't read that sign. It looked like it said double lift. So, here we go. Onto the rift we go. And that's a giveaway if you want to take part. This is an interesting start between these 2 teams. C9 grouping up as a 4-man squad and looking to roam up to this top side. As for BLG, they clumped up in the bottom Hot River, 3 of the members, and are essentially looking for maybe a level 1 play in that bot side. In actuality, they're not going to get anything. Taking a look at the stats for items. Dark Seal, Silas. Enemies looks to be feeling himself this series without even going for it. Kennen hasn't started cool, probably going to pick that one up on his first back. But it's also Summoner Airy Kennen. We saw yesterday and discussed quite heavily the Kennen rune choices from Chasey, with the fact that he went Airy first game, I believe, or Conqueror. Then he went for Electrocute second game, and we critiqued his play quite hard. This series, I think it's a bit of a weird one with the champions on C9 side of Rift. I'm a bit surprised it's Electrocute on the Silas. Don't get me wrong, that's early heal and cleanse. That's a lot of damage being put back down onto the Xayah, though. But yeah, essentially, that mid lane is intriguing to me, because you've got Unsealed Spellbook Talia, which is a standard thing for her to run, as we aren't going to get a kill bot side. But Silas with Electrocute, honestly, I would assume you go Conqueror on the Silas, just so you can sustain through fights with your autos, because that's kind of how you play that champion. Once you use your ability, you land autos, stack up the Conqueror, continue to chase forward, and with the fact that you max W first usually, you get the extra healing, use the Conqueror to keep you top into the health. That's a lot. Elk's taking a lot of pressure, but when we broke down the last BLG series, what we saw was a lot of investment into Elk. And so, this game, the fact that Blabber already making his presence known bot, has kind of forced Shun to actually go respawn play and allow the pressure to come out from the Lucian army to press up and push the wave in. And he's still hovering down in this bottom half of the river because he cleared out his top camps first. It's very clever from BLG in terms of how they do their jungle clears. It's a typical usual start to clear out top side and then go down into the bot side. And it just means that Elk and On can play aggressive non-stop. And with how they've been playing this series, typically on this back, Elk will buy a cull and then return with a big spike. However, he has instead just bought a pickaxe, which is a slightly bigger spike than the cull. So he looks to be skipping that gold investment that can be built up over time. Even though I really think he could benefit from it. Now, topside, Kennan's in a weird situation. He's going into a range champion in the Gnar. And so he is going to be forced on the tower pretty quickly. And it's interesting because there's subtle things that we just saw there. Vi cleared out bot, pathed up to top to clear out her Krugs, and essentially Gnar forced the wave in on that. So he's then able to reset and TP up. He can also cheat a reset in some regards, as he can back very far forward up in lane. And Kennen could try and punish it, but Vi would always be there to kind of respond with a gank. First resets, though, coming up across the borders bot side. That's Ignite, Burn, Flash as well. Lucian ticking down. A lot of damage, but Rakan just chased too hard. He didn't need to go that far forward and just got absolutely deleted. Essentially, Lucian cooldowns came back up and got punished for it. That was so good from BLG's bot lane there to outplay it. Anyway, game probably will slow down a bit now. Drake can't be really contested with the bot lane of C9 on their respawn path back. Unless you get a lucky steal here, there's no way you can contest this. As they go for a contest, the Nami wave just kills off the Vi. Jun is down. On is the next target for C9, but on the bottom half of the fight, it's interesting because they're all being spread apart. Silas gets the Absconder ducked in onto the Talia, and he's looking to kill Elk. Elk is gonna be able to escape. And C9 get 2 kills, lose the Drake. I think that's worth it for them for the initial gold kind of reclaim, as it brings the game back to even. So the gains there are quite big for that Nocturne and Silas. As in comparison to the other team, they scale slightly harder. But yeah, disengage from Sven. Oh! 36. Oh, and there's the first Paranoia coming through, securing first kill with it as well. A C9 killed the entire bot lane of BLG. And you have to realize BLG's strengths in previous series are clearly being targeted by C9 in this game. So, with that in mind, how do you, as BLG, capitalize on it? Well, cross maps, baby. They've gone immediately for the Herald, secured that for themselves, and we haven't really talked about it, has been constantly pushing that wave in, being a big threat to BLG, for BLG I should say, and it's surprising, because Kennen should be starting to scale, but I don't think we're getting to that point of hard scale outperform the Gnar. Because if you think about the kits of Gnar and Kennen, relatively speaking, they do almost the same thing. They get in on top of you and basically knock you into death. But that's also an interesting pickup. Lucian has gotten himself an early stopwatch. Elk clearly is fearing the Nocturne making constant visits down to him, so having a stopwatch in his back pocket means that A, he not gonna be able to burst me at, and B, C9 are gonna have a bit of a hard time picking a good target, because Talia also has a stopwatch in inventory. The big difference is Talia's isn't up and available just yet. But the fact is, BLG, 10 minutes into the game, are basically building to counter, as that's going to be a megaing out Gnar. He can get over the wall. I think that's a bit of a misplay. Never mind, it's over aggression out from C9. Bot side. No paranoia though for Nocturne, but Elk is forced immediately back to his turret. So, C9 are playing quite good in a sense of wanting to build up for their late game. But I like how C9, BLG are playing this. Because Nocturne ult's down, they can start to go even more aggressive than they were already. Like, don't get me wrong, they have defensive items, BLG, to kind of deal with the Nocturne when he has ult. That's a big thing they've got, especially now that Gale Force has come through for that Lucian. That's a lot of damage put down onto this tier 2 though. But they're just continuing to kill it. Look at the response from... I'm pausing. The movement from C9 is very slow. They've been here for a good 30 seconds, 40 plus, with the top lane tier 1 falling. And so, you have to think, the only member that's been here all that time is Fudge. He's been thrown in damage. Now that Enemies is here, this fight looks weird. To be honest, for how it's starting, I would have honestly thought that BLG would have backed up, gone back to base, and kind of played it safe. use the gold that they just got for killing the turret. But instead, what's happening is... I'm turning myself down on the microphone because I'm very loud. Haha. There we go. But essentially what's happening is... they're fighting. This is going to be basically a... you kill him, you kill him. But Talia is focusing down one target. That's a good slicing maelstrom. But Jung can get over the wall. He's safe. But Yagao can't. Oh, the paranoia can't even come through. They want to kill him. They get him, though. That's... bin kills. Easy kills. But that's, if you think about it, a trade of 2-1 in favor of C9. But because of the overinvestment there from C9 to try and stop the top play, BLG are very reactive. Well, proactive. They make a play down on the bot lane tier 1. With the fact that Elk can get some turret plates off of this, get a lot of damage down. They get 7 turret plates in total from that entire play. It feels like C9 overinvest in certain aspects and try to like... So, I'm going to pause. And this is a thing that I've seen quite a lot from Western teams versus Eastern. Western teams use the thing, if we call it... this is what it's called in sports. It's called a shift. If you've watched baseball last year, I know I'm someone who knows about the shift. Basically, what you do, you have people in positions where they can move across and leave one side more open and vulnerable because you overload into one side to try and protect it. And so this game, what we're seeing is C9 having to overload into top to try and kill 2 people. Because you had Blabber there, you had enemies, and you also had Fudge trying to kill 2 people. And while they end up getting that, they've still shifted a 3-man squad away from BLG, whom in essence you'd also have Sven, who wasn't around. He shifted up to mid lane as a sort of cover for there, but also to continue a chase and not allow BLG to respond up topside. So BLG, in response, they now have gained a 2v1 in the bot lane. Actually, it may not even have been a 2v1 because Xayah... So wait. Let's just pan back a bit to after the kill. So the shutdown comes through there. Xayah... yeah. So essentially... where's Kennen? He's bot side, so he's just TP'd down there. Basically, they overloaded so many moves top that Kennen's forced a TP bot to kind of respond to the Lucian Nami. But Lucian Nami obviously can bully him out. He's technically a weak side here, Kennen, in this game. So, the fact is, Elk and On can get extra gold from this. And it continues them to keep scaling up and beat out C9 in terms of their plays. Now, here, Yagao is coming down to overload bot for BLG. He can use the Weaver's Wall to kind of cut off members. But now, C9 are trying to respond. to match members. But BLG can either match them, and this is a shift. We'll pause here. Yagao roam down to bot as this kind of cover. I can get in with the Weaver's Wall if a fight kicks off, and it allows the bot lane to pressure. The fact that enemies has had to reset from being up there means that now Talia can make that roam, come back to mid on a reset wave, and push that back out, then threaten a dive with the Vi, who's also in now a shift position to either come down there and cover, or go to mid and cover. Na is here. He's getting a free wave, because that's going to crash into tier 2, and it's a long lane, so there's no real need for C9 to be up there. But the fact is, C9, I feel, their positioning this game is just a few steps behind what BLG are setting up. And as such, they're kind of losing out in terms of speed and the eco. Because BLG are making plays whenever they move. And what probably will happen here is, the fact is, Vi came down here with the Talia to cover. But now, with this spawning, she's immediately going to roam up here to kind of make a play for it. She's going to clear her Raptors, possibly clear out Krugs, and then go to Herald. Or, vice versa, go over to Herald and kill that. But no, I'm actually right. She goes and kills her Krugs, gets that. She can go then contest Herald if BLG want to. Or she can go on a reset once she hears the death of the Herald come through and clear out her bottom side camps. Because they are on full reset. She might not even go for a back. She might just go clear out the Herald. But what's interesting is, we discussed this before, where teams stood and just watched an objective fall. We saw it before on red side. Essentially, Jun knows that basically he'd be killing himself if he went in the pit there. So he's cleared his top side because he knows that Blabber probably, once he kills the Herald, will try and look for something up there. Because A, he can threaten top side tier 1 as the wave is being pushed in. But in actuality, Jun realizes, hey, I can clear that, make a path down here. But that technically also gives protection to Elk, who has just killed the bot lane tier 1. As it's not even Elk that's killed the bot lane tier 1, it's Yagao. Never mind. It's just a shifting of players ever so easily and fluently out from BLG here in this game that's allowing them to have constant pressure across the map and kind of make it hard for C9 to play and or to match them. As that's just death. But yeah, scratch what I was saying about making counter plays. Oh, good flash out there from Blabber. Actually going to get the killing spree. There's no pullback. Cannon's here. Nas chasing. Bin wants it, and he gets it because of Mega Gnar. Nice play. Bin's just been untouched this entire game so far. And he comes in here, wallops him into the wall, and absolutely deletes him from the rift. That is such a huge play from the BLG top. And it has allowed this game to kind of continue to get out of hand. And, I mean, we already knew... Ooh, Nelly. We already knew it was out of hand. We experienced it, essentially, with the fact that we can see how BLG rotate around the map. And this is just interesting because no one expects Bin to flash it and go in because you clearly expect the damage out from Kennen and Zaya to be extremely high, and the fact that he gets away with that play is huge. Anyway, using the Weaver's Wall here to get Drake pretty clean, honestly. But C9 does have Herald. They were looking to crash that in mid and then rotate into the Dragon Pit. So this is actually very well done by BLG. Using the Weaver's Wall essentially means that you don't get to make any form of snowball on C9's side of the Rift. You just get to crash the Herald in for the mid lane tier 1. It's well orchestrated, to be honest.
Especially well when your split pushers don't have their flashes. Very much agree. I was thinking to myself, maybe Bin is like uncontrollable in the side lane. You know, the fact that he has so much magic resistance being built up for himself. Fudge and M&S I think will struggle, but the beauty of a Nocturne is that it's so quick to catch on side lane. So if Bin or Yagao do overstep, there is a very clear window with which C9 can look to attack. That's the ulti coming in.
Here comes the play from C9. They're going to get the kill into 1. But the response that can come out from BLG's damage is just so high. They've already traded it back. There's a lot more burst damage out on BLG's side, which allows them to get more kills here. There's a MasterCard logo. Because why not? But we're looking at this series so far. There's a lot of plays coming out from BLG to try and go for things. They're going to get onto... He has stopwatch and he's going to pop it. Came a bit too late, but it doesn't matter. He's still able to fire out damage. Double kill over to Elk. But look at how BLG used their stopwatches effectively. They basically denied damage. Berserker's forced to wall. Culling kills off enemies. And Elk, while you try to put him behind early, he still does damage. And it's very hard. Very, very hard if you're C9 here to kind of react to it. And, you know, he's now got 5 kills. Even if he's died 3 times, he's still doing work. He's going to reset now. There's his rapid fire. And that damage and poke from range is just increased. Like, enemies isn't able to get in. The tidal wave response that got stolen really isn't able to do much. It means that essentially Elk can avoid it in status, and BLG just get an easy kill. An easy fight. So now, if you're C9, honestly, I think you need to be looking to split push more. But how do you do that with these champions? You need to have Blabber shadowing someone, but then you realize this. With how BLG are, they can very easily just put Elkin aside and push out and kill turrets quickly and effectively. And so C9 are in a difficult situation where you somehow are trying to think of solutions, but it may be just not enough. I personally think they may have to burger flip a Baron. But C9 are wrong side of the map. Bin's looking for the ult. You know it. He's stepping forward. Soul point picked up for BLG. Back to mid lane now it goes. He's going to push that out. So, from where we are right now, this is what I want to see. A forced Baron from C9. Because you want to force BLG into you. Because essentially, you want to allow an overextension and then punish it if you're C9 in this case. Get a flank with the cannon. It's hard, but it's what you need to do. Now you're going to lose everything.
Coordinated, more comfortable right now so far in game one of the series. It's very reminiscent of the Mad Lions game one yesterday, where it was Mad Lions who were the aggressors and it was T1 punishing. I feel like C9 with this composition are forced to be the aggressors. They're the ones forced to find picks, forced to look for dives, and every time they have tried, BLG have just been able to get the upper hand.
And the terrifying thing is, it's not like on paper you're getting hard out scaled. You're getting hard out executed, and that's got to be a frustrating point because Lucian Nami isn't a weak scaling early game champion, and Talia in the mid game. Oh, that thought is now the engage already coming through. Trying to burn the
Mid lane, we've got to fight. They've actually caught on. So it's weird that there wasn't any real response to that from BLG, because BLG tend to look to punish them. Because that seemed like an overextension from C9 to start that. Because they did go very deep for it. But what's important to note is Bin is yet to pull the trigger on his CP. He still has that in pocket. And every play so far, I think that C9 has tried to start in terms of team fighting. Fudge has TP'd in. He's left Bin alone quite a lot in this game. And while I can't say it's unexpected, because you need to overload fights if you're C9 to win them, but yeah, this is weird if you're C9. Soul, though, is on the table for BLG. It is alive now. And I'm just watching the posturing. Enemies has managed to flank round. He's spotted him. Weaver's wall is really good. Bit of a early one, though, because Drake has reset. Now, Fudge has been caught. Paranoia comes through. They've managed to catch onto Elk, but he's just able to burst them out of targets. The re-engage coming through from Nocturne. He's managed to get on top of it, and that's a shutdown. Bottom half of the fight, it's going to be Desire on a killing spree. Damage comes through. Slicing Maelstrom is going to be popped as Rakan gets the knock up onto the one. Featherstorm comes through and locks up the fight, but she's looking. She's hunting. She's going to be able to not kill off this Desire. And in actuality, C9 winning out this fight. Yagao almost going to be taken out. Rakan going to heal up his lover as a re-engage comes through from BLG. They're going to chip through the health bar. Yagao is unstoppable. Bin? Not going to get it. Berserker, you're playing way too aggressive. BLG sweep up that fight. Absolutely decimate C9. Bin's been very well, playing very well this game. And so we're just watching how it starts. It's just Jun getting on top of Fudge, denying the flank option for him. Paranoia comes through as enemies, goes directly onto the backline and almost kills off Elk, but the damage is too high from that Lucian, and once he uses all his spells, that's the go signal for C9 to re-engage. They're doing a lot of work here, and Berserker just healing up. Good dodge there of the Q from the Vi, but yeah, you have to realize this situation very difficult if you're C9, because this fight looks close and honestly possibly could have gone to C9 if Zen was able to lock up the Talia, but he's unable to, and C9 get wiped. The full map view there. But yeah, Infernal Soul picked up for BLG, and that's a huge thing for Elk and the Talia, if I'm honest. The amount of extra damage this Soul gives you is great, as Talia has been caught, but that's a lot of spells used by C9 to kill her. But they managed to pick him off. Baron is on the table, and this was a kill in the top half of the river. We could see them rotate over to it. The objective bounty is there. Concern here. Featherstorm's used. TP also used. That's very deep from Fudge. He's going to be knocked up, burnt down, forced into status, and is going to die. Over to Bin. Way too greedy. As now Blabber is caught. The culling comes through. He's good. Knighted. As the GA gets popped. As Elk firing 1 shot, 2 shot. Goodbye Sven. 3 shots, 4 shots. Make that a kill. Enemies falls. And Bin just chasing out Blabber. Not going to be able to get into any of this. As C9 turns straight to the... C9? BLG turns straight to the Baron.
Cloud9, after finding that pick, couldn't decide between the Baron or
My brain.
committing to the tower. They realized that they had
It's just so tired. But this fight, we'll talk about it.
such a great pick, and in this
A lot of investment gets put into Yagao.
still have a number of ultimates.
And so,
Instead, you've got the
realistically speaking, C9 now are getting them cooldowns they just expended back. But what we're also seeing is the 2 Fed members of BLG responding to this top lane tier 1. Berserker's way too far forward in this position. So, immediate dash or Gale Force, couldn't tell which, into Q forces the ult out from Elk. That means that C9 can just disengage, back up, but Fudge has TP'd in because he's realizing, hey, we can win this, it can be a 4v5, fight them. He's going in under a turret, which is dumb. I didn't see if Sven had a ward in his inventory, but you can TP to these. That would have still been good TP wards, but minion bad. Then wave comes through, knock up from that, Viol slam down, and Fudge is just dead, not able to press any buttons. Then it's just C9 getting picked off 1 by 1, let's be honest. The chunks from Elk is so high. Gonna be forcing the wave into the tower. Paranoia use going directly onto Lucian, but he's just being free firing. Just so much damage comes through. Yagao is going aggressive. He wants to end the game right here. Bin, he's just going to tank this tower and try and pop out the C9 targets. It's clean. BLG winning game 1 here. Elk's just able to do so much. They don't even kill him. They get his GA. Slicing Maelstrom. Probably the most damage that's done in this entire game, let's be honest. On flashes the Nexus. Dies for it though. BLG cleaned the floor with C9 in game 1. And we're going to get into game 2 in just a second. I do need to do something real quick, so I'll see you in a second. Okay, we're back. Game 2. Let's get it. We're just going to skip through to Champ Select Start. Here we go. And I'm intrigued by these bans from BLG. Now, this is actually the first... Well, it's the second time these teams get... I don't know what I'm saying. Basically, it's the second time in this tournament, in the bracket stage, where a Western team gets to choose, like, their side. Like, they start on blue side and continue on blue side. But it's always been the same story, hasn't it? West regions can't beat the Eastern, and the draft stays relatively the same in C9's favor. BLG, Nidalee, Cassante, and Maokai, same bands as game 1. Obviously, the same effect, relatively speaking. It leaves open some of these picks, as C9 quite could honestly just stick with Desire. They found it to be a strong pick, as there was a bit of an issue here and there. But BLG not locking into Lucian. They're going to go for the Vi in the second lock. I like it, as the draft is looking very much the same as game 1. Honestly, if it gets through to the salty run back stage, I could definitely see a bit of a change between these two teams. Now, in my opinion, there we go. It's a Scion going to be locked in. This is interesting because obviously game 1, it got banned out, I believe, by C9. They took it out of Bin's pool. But this game, Fudge going to get his hands on it. But you're going into Bin here. Honestly, game 1, he was playing carry Nah. I could definitely see BLG playing with that if it's not banned. Like, he's very good on Nah. And in this situation, he could still play it. Have an engaging ultimate, having the damage, the lockup. He was untouched in that game. And with a Scion being locked in for C9, it's very much looking like Bin can free lock in a Nah here, not have to deal with like any pressure from jungle. But BLG throw bans into the jungle, removing some early game presence, and they're actually going to remove Nah. So Jax, Kennen, Fiora, a lot of big picks still technically up and available that Bin can default to into a Scion, because Scion, you can play relatively anything into it, because it's just going to do its own thing. I mean, you could flex a Scion mid or jungle, but that is a very... I'm not saying it's a good flex. It's kind of them ones that you can. But C9, there's the Kindred. That is what I want to see. Oh god, it's MSI and C9 have a Kindred. This is the champion that Blabber had history with Scuttle Crabs with. Oh god. He died for it level 1. I'm getting flashbacks. Oh god. BLG, lock in the Syndra to round out their draft. Does make sense. Not going to have the Talia this game, which, in my opinion, would be a decent pick to kind of lock up targets with the Weaver's Wall and use the Slicing Maelstrom on top of them, as well as the ability to match the roam that the Galio provides. But Syndra's more so there to negate the front line and also knock targets slightly out of the Lamb's Respite. I think Syndra is a good pickup here. But, you know, it's going to come down to execution more than anything. Will BLG be able to stop the possible scaling threat that C9 has? Only time will tell as we get on into game number 2. They're panning to the middle logo. You know we're going in now. 3. Actually, maybe not. We may get a pause. And if we get a pause, I'm just going to skip forward. Never mind. We're into the game. Cool start. That's the big thing to note. Bin has got a cool. This actually makes sense. So game 1, we talked about it as this item you realistically go for on the cannon, because it allows you to kind of outscale a typically melee top lane. This game is that situation. Last was the fact that C9 had a Gnar. Well, BLG had a Gnar. Fudge probably couldn't match the killing of the waves or the speed. I like Sion's Ruin. It's a comet. That surprises me, honestly. I would have thought you'd go like Aftershock Sion or Glacial Augment. A lot of spells burnt there by Elk, but essentially BLG playing with respect, but they still manage, because they still are alive and full health, to continue to push in C9. Now, as for the rest of the Rift, I didn't really discuss Summoners. Not Summoners, Ruins. As once again, Elk just playing aggressive solution. It's a standard thing. This is how he plays a champion. He forces you under turret and he forces damage down onto you. But as we pan across lanes, I was going to talk about the Summoners as Airy for the Syndra and Aftershock for the Galio. This is going to be probably a very tanky build as a whole for C9. Roa looking like a good option. Proto Belt would be the other. But bot side, I think it's important to note this start. I'm pausing here just to talk about Blabber. Look at who he has marked. He has Lucian, meaning he wants to make plays down there early. He also kind of wants to make Elk aware and threatened by the fact that he is marked. And so Blabber, while he is ahead of the clear, he's just going to continue to be nosy, possibly threaten his own life. He's also stepping forward there in relative terms to see if the blue buff was taken. And as such, it makes him wonder if he can get the Scuttle Crab. Because that is spawning in a few seconds. And he wants it. As mid, just damage being thrown between two laners. Syndra will be able to just out-trade though. And that is the mark being picked up for Blabber. And I'm actually surprised. Because he spotted the Vi. Will Blabber go for a double scuttle? Galio did just spot that the Herald scuttle hasn't been taken. Bot side. Blabber, see, I don't think Jun expected Blabber to be down here. But the engaged bot side, Elk is gonna almost die, but Rakan, Vi's gonna probably charge, but isn't gonna be needed as first blood goes over to Finally, the Scuttle Crab falls. Now, what's interesting is the fact that Elk picked up an assist there. Gone back, bought a pickaxe, and is obviously going to be a slightly bigger threat than what Desire is with that noon quiver. Slicing Maelstrom thrown out, just to chunk a lot of damage out of Fudge. Won't be the kill, but bot side, Glacial Augment lands. Elk is going to be taken on relatively low as Galio's coming from behind. Flash used by Elk, but he's dead. Enemies, though, making a play. The sad thing is, he didn't get any credit on that kill. Even though he basically set it up. And that's kind of sad because his Dark Seal doesn't get a stack as well. He probably would have liked that. Anyway, game. I don't know if C9 can continue to push like they are right now, but Blabber dead? What was that? That wasn't really a gank, let's be honest. There was no engage onto him, as this is more of an engage. Elk gets caught out and killed off by enemies, finally getting a stack onto that Dark Seal. And here comes the C9 bot lane. Vi is going to be the next target, forced to flash over the wall. Xayah chases, Berserker gets the kill. C9 winning out early yet again. Galio, though, on the wrong side of the rift. The Scatter Weak goes wide as top side. They're looking to kill the cannon. But Blabber still finally switches over. The mark changes target. Sion is wanting to secure this. Second mark over to Blabber. We don't actually get to see his marks this game. What's happened to the overlay? Whee! He's on 2 marks. C9 ballooning early. Reminds me of game number 1. I mean, so that fight, not really much we can discuss. I mean, we can, if there's a replay, we can kind of say what happened and why it happened, but there isn't much of a what and a why, because depending on where they start. Okay, so this is just enemies rotating and realizes, essentially he realizes, oh great, I'm technically on a ward at this point, and when Vi wraps round, he's kind of forced to make a play. He gets the kill onto Elk, and now, because the wave is into turret, the C9 bot lane can join up and protect the Galio. What's more, Rakan jumps to Galio, gets an easy jump onto the Vi, forcing the flash out, but Berserk is able to chase with his own flash, and now it's still a 3v2. Nami gets hit up, the Scatterer weak, misses, so there's no lockup on BLG's side. If they were able to land it, there definitely would have been a kill trade back for BLG's favor. But C9, this early game, they're playing the map a lot better. What's more, they also picked up Harold there as well. Oh, where would they benefit from that? It honestly, with the fact that Blabber is playing Kindred, they could realistically drop Harold wherever, because Blabber and Berserker are realistically the only ones that would benefit from the extra gold from Herald and plating. Now, interestingly, game 1, top was left in isolation, and we essentially thought, well, it's an even matchup because Nah obviously has kept up, able to do work in terms of fighting regardless. They both have big teamfight threat. Whereas this game, Sion has fallen slightly behind. And I mean, you don't really care as Kindred gonna put the mark down onto Yao to get the flash out. Galio is walking a weird direction, but he is able to get out. Blabber gonna clear the wave as well, so get a bit of gold into his back pocket still. Berserker gonna be able to come in and join up. Actually, this is smart from C9. It's a rotation to get mid plating. It's topside Fudge. Just gonna get chunked out. Harold crashes in mid. Berserker gets the gold from that. You can assume anyway. But now, C9 looking to continue the pressure. Once mid wave has crashed into the turret, rotating down to the Drake, looking to secure that for themselves. God, I'm tired. Excuse me. Vi now showing topside. Just spotted out by a control ward, so not gonna go for the dive as Jack Shao picked up for Fudge. Means he's gonna probably do a lot better in that. It's going to be hard to dive the Scion now in top lane to punish him and get Bin further ahead. But Cull fully stacked. Gold in the back pocket of the BLG top laner. Returning with a fully stacked item. Magic boots. He's got a lot of basically good stuff from his back. Imperial Mandate first item picked up for Nami. That seems like a very quick mythic for On. And it does help that he's got 2 kills as Elk's under turret and dying. Vi gets away. Plating somehow, some way. BLG find a way to get 4. Only 1 plate, and that was from Herald, I think. C9 just feel like early game may not be good enough. So Featherstorm gets bursted here. Charm comes through from the quickness, just locking him up under turret. Clean, honestly, from C9. Not threatened at all. And that gold graph, I think we need to look top, baby. Scion, obviously, doesn't really care about the gold. That's Galio ult. That seems wasted. Oh god. The CSD mid's quite massive already, isn't it? The game is weird. So, I like C9's draft. It reminds me very much of how T1 drafted yesterday. And honestly, Golden Guardians mainly reminds me of T1. But this game, I think there's a difference between Bruiser frontline and just too bulky, fall behind too heavy champions like the Scion. The Galio also is in a similar sort of boat where Syndra is probably going to out-damage the protection them champs offer. As Scion goes wide, the wave gets thrown out to dissuade. Featherstorm gone as well. I like what E9 did there to essentially dissuade BLG from going forward. You throw out the Featherstorm. But, you know, Rift Herald gets picked up. Again, we go back to the point of who do you drop it for? Because right now, with how BLG are playing, getting a lane that isn't pushed in by BLG is going to be quite hard, I feel. You have to think they're definitely going to have to commit very heavily into a lane to get it. Obviously, Drake is spawning in 10 seconds. So, unless you see Blabber rushing up to mid, please don't tell me he's actually doing that. It looks like he may be. Basically, rushing up. Berserker flashed. What? It's interesting. The casters haven't said anything about it. But, yeah. This is the right thing from C9. Force mid tower with second Herald. But now, Berserker has no safety with that flash gone. How did the casters not spot that? What? Yeah. Weird. Weird. Anyway. Game is very, very interesting because the fact that C9 went to Drake, they sent too many members to it. BLG force top play, force a mid play, get 2 turrets out of that, just to basically trade the one that Harold got. It's honestly insane how well BLG played the map. Oh, please don't tell me that's showing the flash. I saw it. Why would you? They clearly weren't paying attention to the game. But yeah. Bruh. Anyway. Right now, BLG just playing the map better. Presumably, there's no TPs left up and available for C9. So, there's a free push in that bot lane for Bin. And Bin, once again, kind of been left untouched. Other than the one gank where Kindred got a mark off of him, there's been nothing to kind of threaten this guy. Now, with that in mind, this Kennon's damage is probably going to be pretty high if a fight is caused. He's gone Void Staff for a second item. And he's realizing that the front line for C9 is going to be very hard to melt. So getting that early allows him to be able to deal with it. And yeah, that's a 2k gold lead top. That's huge. And there's gold leads basically across the map except for jungle and support. But like, it's only one lane that BLG are essentially not winning. And as you realize that, C9 just aren't able to keep up with the tempo being thrown down. They finally get a turret in the top lane. They overload top, granted, as BLG play for the other 2 lanes. It's insane the fact that teams are letting oppositions get multi-lane plays. We live in Bizarro world. I'm also realizing I don't like the summoners out from C9. Like, don't get me wrong. Unsealed Spellbook, Galio, isn't really a thing. But I genuinely prefer that if that means that there can be a TP on this champion. Because, while yeah, he does technically have a TP with the heroic entrance, it's not that long range. And you do kind of have to give up side lane pressure because of it. I think C9 have misplayed this. Like, it's similar to how Broken Blade plays Draven. I've been quite quiet in terms of this game. But essentially, what I'm trying to say is, I think top laners realistically need to have TPs, regardless of what would benefit them. Because Ghost, yeah, don't get me wrong, good spell to have. But, like, Darius without a TP makes it very hard for him to get into fights. And that's a similar sentiment I have about Galio. As mid, Everfrost lands, Yagao's dead. Drake's dead though. And I'm intrigued by Blabber because he's still on 3 marks. He's been hunting Vi for a long time. It seems like he's been unable to make plays. I'm ready to watch the Vi. Vi is stepping forward. They've got vision of it. They're not clearing it out. The feathers are getting stacked up. It's stolen. Wow. You didn't clear the vision. That was so poor. Look. They had full vision of this Baron take. You didn't step up to clear the ward. And so he's able to get in. The smite is way too early. Wait. Does Kindred even smite? Yeah, he does. So basically, C9 put it low, and because they see the health bar, BLG performed their own might execute combo with the culling. Yeah. The feathers were way too late. So, game's over, right? Drake's really not that impactful. It's Cloud. No one really cares about Cloud. They've caught out Galio. Lamb's Respite keeps Baron alive, right? Why didn't they use it? They could have actually kept Baron alive. Pretty bad, honestly. Psyonauts drifting into the cannon. Gonna lock him up. Bottom's half the fight, though. It's Vi who is dead. The culling chunking through Desire. But Elk free firing. Forced to run. Galio looking to chase him down. Everfrost is not going to land. Jumps back over the wall to join his team. And Elk gets away with murder. They still go for it. They get him. Wow. How do you describe this game? Because it's chaotic. Choo choo, here comes a car. Boop. Just a good Scion ult, honestly. This is a big engage the bin ult. It feels like a bit of a bin diff this series. 16 seconds on Drake. And they're gonna have 4 members dead on C9's side of the rift. Also gonna get mid lane tier 3. Game seems over. 28 minutes in. Gold lead. Somehow been in BLG's control since minute 10. Even though it seemed like there was some semblance of control for C9 through mid-game and early. But yeah, it's just frontline diff. Honestly, it feels like. So, let's take a look at items. LDR for Alk. Very much a great item into the front line of C9. Not going to be sitting on a stopwatch, so if he gets picked off, he's probably going to die. There's not much safety for him, as Galio flashing but not able to get the taunt down onto Bin, and Elk calls through his health bar as the re-engage comes through from BLG. They're just firing out the damage as the Lamb's Respite gets put down. Slicing Maelstrom goes through the health bars of C9 and a triple kill. Make that the quadra kill for Elk. He's looking for the penta. Blabber is down and it's stolen away. BLG just wiped the floor with C9 in that fight. Absolutely clutch as a whole. And they were unable to get on top of Elk. Elk has just been left to free fire this game, as Bin also just seems untouched. It's been relentless from BLG this entire series. And they go to 2 wins. Clean fight. To end it, we'll watch it as our replay. We can talk about it. How it kicks off is just enemies. He goes aggressive. Ghost flash directly on top of Bin. But Proto Belt plus E means Bin's quicker. Gets out of the taunt. And look at how far extended C9 actually are. Already, we have Berserker taking out the fight with the tidal wave. And so, with a carry on C9 side of the things, unable to kind of do damage if Bin was caught out and locked up, I think regardless of if Bin was taunted, the fight would still turn out the same way. As the enemies just oversteps, runs headfirst into basically all of BLG's damage dealers. minus the Syndra. It's just a massive culling isolated damage. Takes him out. Good night. Now you're looking here. The Vi's charging up to go into that mess or onto Blabber. Because once you kill Blabber, the threats of damage and safety goes down exponentially. So he goes in, Blabber dashes, and so what does he do? Flash onto the Xayah. Berserker is unable to react because he's expecting Blabber to take the Q. But no, locked up. The feathers get pulled through, but the ulti from Vi knocks up targets, and you know what's coming. The big damage out from Elk onto Xayah in isolation. Slicing Maelstrom gets thrown out. It's just clean, and you realize the fact that, yeah, the Slicing Maelstrom isn't doing much damage to the Scion. It's once Elk flashes in, Berserker is kind of forced out as well. As, yeah, BLG just landing the right stuns, targeting the right people. As Sion's the last one to die, that should be how a team fight goes when you're facing bruisers, like, or tanks like that. You don't focus them, you focus the damage. And so the fact that Vi went directly onto the Xayah, the fact that Elk immediately pinged himself down onto the Xayah as well. You kill the carries, you don't allow him in, and inevitably the fight goes in BLG's favor. Let's discuss game 3. We haven't done the last game of the series in terms of this, where we watch it, but we'll get the game up ready just so that we have it if needs be. Because right now, we're going to go here. Oh, God. Mad Lions there is pretty funny. Elk, hi. We need to look at your team, mate. Match list. This series is going to intrigue me. I think this series somehow... Well, I think with what we're going to see in the JDG Golden Guardian series is probably the closest style that the West has to the LCK style. I think Golden Guardians play very much like a T1 do, or have been during this tournament. And as a whole, I think we could see a bit of a close matchup. And if GG do beat JDG, my expectations on the styles that we will see from teams in the local regions, like the LEC and LCS, will change to this sort of flexible style that Golden Guardians have, where there's preface on bulkier bruiser tops that can be flexed to mid. Similarly, flex picks mid. It's just needed. Like, Annie has been flexed a lot, don't get me wrong, but it's not as flexible as other things. Anyway, game 3, let's look at it. That's the first thing I see. You've gone unsealed spellbook. I don't like it on a Scion. Generally prefer an Aftershock. And just the ability to be frontline and survive. Like, yeah, he did, like, in the last game, and he didn't go for it, I believe. Wait, did he? What did he go set last game, Fudge? I'm Scion. He went Comet last game. that intrigues me. Why you would go for Unsealed Spellbook. It's a change-up. But they all are standard for the champs. They make sense. Don't like this champion in the meta. It's not really meta. Seem to pop off though. Or do decent. Anyway, let's look. Where's the kills lie? And I mean... Elk. Elk's almost full builder. But he looks to do a lot of damage on a Jinx. I want to see his build. So I might look at his timeline. Builds, that's what I want to look at. But, yeah. Oh, God. 1, 2. That first turret. 1, 2. 3 Drakes to 2. C9 switch sides. And so what does that entail for them? Well, bans stay relatively the same except for Varus gets thrown in by BLG. That's the change up. Rakan's removed as well. So Aphelios, I like this lineup as a whole, minus the Lee Sin. C9's bans. Stock standard in it. The pick round rotation. So, Bin's Gwen was first pick priority for BLG, it seems. No, wait, that's not pick order. Never mind. I'll shut up now. Seems close until 18 minutes. I think that's a common trend through this tournament. Let's have a look at builds. Did you go Cull? You started Cull. They both started Cull. So yeah, that's a standard start from these two laners. Cull. And this is a trend from Elk, starting Cull and then building it up. He didn't do it on Lucian this series, which was a surprise to me. Yeah. This was just intriguing. I don't get why they can't show like summon spell usage for the rest of the summoner rotation. I mean, timeline doesn't show that, but who are you? You're Elk clearly got a lot of gold with 33 minutes in. Probably because he got quite a few kills there. Yeah, and a shutdown on Berserker. Yeah. This game looks like C9 basically ballooned Berserker to a point that then he just gets shut down in the fight and then Elk wins. That's how it looks like to me. Where does he die? There. To Bin. Bin kills him. On the Nexus, actually. They're basically in the base. At that point. Yeah. It seems like clean domination overall. Is that... Yeah. It's just the gold graphs for the support as well that surprises me. Like... Thresh should be a lot closer than this. Like, support's usually a very close to one another in terms of stats, but I don't know. The series looks like there's a lot of shutdowns getting picked up. That does make this interesting. Oh well. My understanding is basically just someone gets ahead in lane, they get shut down, then the opposition shuts them down, then the opposition that just got shut, they got double shut down, so it's shut down city. They're just trading shutdowns on one another. Like, yeah, he continues to scale up and then gets shut down. Yeah. It feels very much like they trade the kills. Elk probably was aggressive in the fights and Berserker just couldn't get in to fight it, it looks like, from just looking at this. And so C9 lost out. Was there anything big? Nope. No pentakills. Doesn't look like it anyway. Huh. 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 I think that tells the story of the game then. That's only for this game. I want to see the one for the entire series. That doesn't tell me anything. This game, yeah. It's ADC damage. ADC damage. Oh, God. Elk dominates. And so, this tournament really feels like an Elk diff. The damage per minute. Literally, you can combine... I'm trying to do math in my head. But you can combine these three, almost. And Elk's done more damage than them. Anyway. It feels like we're living in an Elk world in Bilibili games. But yeah, that's going to be it for today's stream. I'll see you guys tomorrow for JDG.